Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, Extend Sugar, Supercharge Your CRM with New Capabilities. And Sugar has formed a couple of strategic partnerships with Triblio, a Foundry Company, and DealHub, which are two leading sales and marketing technology platforms. In this webinar, we will show you how to extend the Sugar platform to engage with your prospects and customers using these groundbreaking digital tools. So without further ado, I'd like to take a moment to do a few introductions. Today, you have four wonderful webinar hosts today. The first I would like to introduce you to is Eyal Orgil, the Chief Revenue Officer at DealHub. Next up, you have Andrew Mahr, Chief Customer Officer at Triblio. And then from Sugar, you have Christian Wettre, SVP and GM Platform. And you also have myself, Sarah Friedlander-Garcia, and I am the Director of Content and Creative at Sugar. So now that we've gone through our introductions, I'm going to pass this over to Christian to go through the agenda.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. I'm really excited to be here today with Eyal and Andrew, who I've been working with for quite some time now, and I consider my friends. And we are happy to show you some of the things that we're doing together as three separate organizations, but working kind of in the Sugar CRM ecosystem to provide more value to us, you, our customers. So we're going to go through looking at how can we make more out of Sugar with ISV relationships, and typically that is working inside of business processes. There's a lot of folks that do very intelligent things with business processes, and that extends the CRM capabilities a product like Sugar does, and that's what we're going to show you. So first of all, we're going to show you how Triblio for Sugar CRM does that, then DealHub, and then I'm going to summarize a little bit about what is the net result of that, Sugar being supercharged, as we were calling it ambitiously, by DealHub and Triblio. And we'll do some Q&A. We also have a couple of special offers. Eyal is going to make a special offer at the end for those who sit through the whole webinar of how to easier get DealHub into your organization. So the first thing I wanted to remind everybody of is that Sugar CRM has a marketplace where hundreds of independent software vendors offer products that connect to the various Sugar platform products. So that platform is Sugar Outfitters, and you see the URL here on the slide, sugaroutfitters.com. Go there. You can search for different categories of solutions, industry solutions, solutions that fit our various products, a rich treasure trove of ideas, and you'll find Triblio and DealHub related products there as well. So as we start our presentation, I like to remind our customers, ourselves, about what's are typically the objectives of CRM, and almost every organization has goals of growing and maintaining revenue. So core CRM objectives are gaining revenue from new customers, expanding relationships with existing customers, and then of course keeping the customers we have for as long as possible, keeping them happy, and keeping them buying more of our products. So to do that, I'm going to take a little bit of a look at the key offerings that we're making here. So we're calling it Supercharging Sugar. And first I want to talk about a little bit about the Sugar and Triblio, and then I'll let Andrew talk about the details. So we have this relationship where Sugar Sell and Serve work with Triblio for intent management. And what is intent management? On the next slide, I'll show you a little bit of a story. When I first started in sales many years ago, I got a desk, a telephone, and I got a huge directory. The directory was, about half a foot thick. And I was told, call as many customers as you can and try to get an appointment with them to sell our stuff. And that was tough. That was right out of college. It was tough to do. It wasn't super motivating. But I did it and got stronger for it. Then when I matured in my career, I saw other salespeople with the next generation of salespeople. They would wait for incoming leads. They would wait for people to fill in contact us forms on their websites, and I would make fun of them and call them weak and useless. And it was a good thing to do. It made the sales process easier, but you just never got enough leads. So what we think we have here with the Triblio solution is kind of the best of both worlds. We're going to show you how to give your salespeople good information about target accounts and accounts. What are they interested in? People that are expressing interest on the internet and by downloading resources about information related to your products and services, and then they can go and do intelligent outreach based on that. So the next relationship is with the DealHub team. So there we're solving two key problems for a sales organization. In my entire career working with sales organization, there's been two really strong bottlenecks. The first one is the simple item of just generating an accurate, nice looking quote for our customers. It often is a problem in a sales organization just to get the quote out. And the longer you wait, or the longer a prospect is waiting for that quote, the less credibility you have. The longer you delay, the more it reduces your win rates. The second problem we're looking to solve is what happens after we deliver the quote. That's a kind of a big period of uncertainty for a sales organization. We delivered our pricing. We've delivered what the prospect wanted from us, but we don't have a lot of leverage now to understand what's happening afterwards. And DealHub gives us unique insights into that, which Eyal will be showing. So those are some of the core things we're looking to do in this webinar. So with that, I'm going to introduce Andrew Mahr. He's the Chief Customer Officer for Triblio, and he's going to go through Triblio in some more detail.
Great, thanks for that introduction. And yeah, what we'll go through quickly here today is how Triblio inside of SugarCRM really helps your sales team to uncover what is hidden demand. As Christian said, you've hopefully got some stream of inbound leads coming, and so that's demand that your team can see. They know those people are hand raisers, they're interested, so of course we want to follow up with them as quickly as possible. But after that, what do they fall back to? Are they going to the half-foot thick phone book, or is there something better we can give them? And Triblio is an answer for that, to give your whole sales organization that better list of people to be calling and what to be talking to them about when they do call. So in order to set up this process for success, what you're trying to do is find active buyers, and what your team needs, the whole revenue organization needs, is data to show how those B2B purchases really work. So what are companies actually doing that would indicate they're in market right now, your sales team should be calling them. Everything that happens between a need being identified and that purchase. So the first thing is data you have. It's the signals you have inside of your CRM today. When they make a sales inquiry, visit your blog, things like that are form fills. That's data you have. You're prioritizing that. The next thing that came along to indicate when buyers are in market is online content consumption. So maybe, and this is what's typically referred to as intent data, if you've heard that term. Maybe they're watching a webinar online, reading a B2B blog article, reading a case study somewhere, and that data is being tracked and consumed. And that's good, and it gives you some visibility into who might not be engaging with you yet, but is reading about your category. But B2B purchases are much more complex than this, and you need to see more than just online content consumption. The next thing that teams are very typically doing, that I'm sure you've done yourselves when you're making a big B2B purchase, is you check inside of your network. You might do that by attending a trade show and listening in on sessions about how others have been successful with the type of product or solution you're looking at. You might follow vendors on social media. You might post a question on your network, but there's that online or in-person social connection and peer discovery that happens. The next thing that happens as well is consulting with experts. So you might do that by reading analyst papers, checking out buyer's guides, things like that. And finally, what B2B teams often do when they're getting ready for a big purchase isn't any type of research. It's just what I would call related business activities. If you're about to install, a big new piece of technology, you're probably going to hire someone. So you might put out a job spec saying we're looking for someone with expertise in this technology or with this product so that we can deploy it successfully. Or if you're a really large company, information about those initiatives might even be put out in investor statements, press releases, things like that. So this is the whole picture of what those in-market buyers are doing very, very early in the process, before they're raising their hand, before they're talking to your team. And all of this information outside of what's happening in your CRM is what Triblio is able to begin exposing to your sales team so that they can see what's happening in their territories before people raise hand, fill out a form, and can then know who to actually call. And we'll show you some specific ways that this shows up with our integration with Sugar. So we want to get this information in front of your team in as easy a way as possible. And so there's two primary mechanisms for this in our integration with SugarCell. The first is what I would call passive consumption, where we put it in a dashboard and the reps can go and check it. Either the rep or the sales manager can go see in a dashboard from data that we're syncing over, okay, which accounts that are in my territory or in my patch or that are currently in my pipeline are showing some level of heightened activity. And what specifically is that? Are they researching, product A versus product B? Is it an early stage signal or a late stage signal? We give all that into a dashboard so you can consume it when you're planning out your week on a Monday, for instance. The other way that we put this in front of rep is that proactive communication. So we can actually put this into fields that will then alert your team via email. So if there's a hot account that is just maybe anonymously been on your website, or we just saw that there was a signal that they were researching a competitor of yours, we can put that information in front of your team the next day so that they're able to change their plans, prioritize following up with that team, or going and finding new contacts in that company to be reaching out to. So again, there's that dashboard view so that they can be checking in on it, as well as this proactive view we can pushing in front of it, depending on what workflows you want for your sales reps. Then once they dive into the CRM, and of course the reps are going to know, can I trust this signal? And okay, well, what do I actually say if I do reach out? Am I just like cold calling with our boilerplate message, or is there some personalized insight? We're providing that as well. So there's this dashlet that we'll put on the account page right inside of Sugar. So you're able to see in that Triblio module, when you're inspecting the account and researching all the activity you have there, what engagement have they had? Have they been on my website anonymously? What topics have they been researching? So have they been researching competitors of mine that we've been able to pick up on? Have they been researching just things in my category, the types of solutions that we solve for? So those insights are there and help your reps to craft those personalized messages. We also show what the timeline of that engagement looks like. So the reps can get a view very specifically into, all right, well, has this been a slow burn? They've been researching for a while. Maybe it's not really that urgent because this pattern hasn't gone anywhere. Or is this a sudden spike out of nowhere where it had been cold for a while, but now we're seeing a big pickup in activity, or really interesting, lower funnel content that they're consuming, something like that. That would indicate, again, more priority for them, and also help them to craft their message. What they're going to reach out to, or what the messaging they're going to use when they reach out will be very different if they're researching a competitor versus just researching kind of very high level topics in the category that you serve. And then finally, we're going to give them a detailed history of what that third-party research looks like. So in CRM, of course, you're already going to have everything they've done with you. Have they talked to a rep? Have they, downloaded pieces of content from you? You have visibility onto that. But what's the history of all the, content consumption, things we've seen them doing online, event interactions, things like that? That history will be right inside of Sugar also, so that your reps can, again, get that sense of how has their interest been changing over time? Has it gone from kind of general topic interest down to very specific things? And that'll be there in a very detailed way for the reps to look at. So answering that question for them again of not just who do I reach out to, but what do I say when I do reach out? So by syncing all that data over and pushing it into Sugar on a nightly basis, we're helping your reps to find buyers earlier, hopefully get in, frame the message, beat the competition, be the first one in there talking about why your solution is going to be the best for solving that need. Craft engaging messages, so when they do reach out, they're more productive. They have higher reply rates, better engagement rates, getting the right message to the right people in those accounts and really speaking to pain points the customers care about and just being relevant at the end of the day. And then also what I would just call getting the Mondays back. How much of your reps' time today when they start their week is spent cleaning a list, deduping things, going and hunting for activity, hunting for signal so they know who to reach out to? All of that can more or less be automated with this data by giving them just a ranked, hey, in your territory, based on the data, here's who you should be reaching out to. Ditch the phone book and move to this data-driven approach. So happy to take more questions about that at the end. And were you going to pipe in there, Christian?
I was just excited about something, so I wanted to say, I just wanted to clarify that the super exciting about this is that this is not content or intent that's discovered on your own website. Everybody can do that. We can do that with Sugar Market easily. We can see whoever's on your website and what they're interested in. This is research that's being done off your website on various journal and magazines and all kinds of other blogs, not your own, where people are researching their competitor competitive purchases. So giving your sales team insight to all that they never would have known about is the excitement of Triblio, and I just want to make sure that's really, really clear.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that. So again, it's things that you wouldn't have visibility into today, and it's things that are in addition to, your marketing team might be driving a lot of great interest today that doesn't show up yet in terms of hand raises, but they might have the brand out there that might be driving interest in your category in those accounts, but just there's no way to show it yet. And that's what Triblio is doing. It's gathering all of that information of what are those B2B buying teams doing before they raise a hand and fill out a form. And again, with the size of buying teams kind of going up and up and up, the further that we go, you might have in a typical deal, 1 out of 8, 1 out of 9 people in a buying committee who actually raise a hand and will tell you, yes, I'm interested. But behind that person, there's 7 or 8, maybe 15 other people who are active in the decision-making process that you don't have any visibility into. And it's their information too that we're able to track and aggregate and say, okay, as a whole company, this account looks really interested right now. And as a company, they're changing their research patterns in a way that indicate it's time for your reps to be talking to them. And yeah, extending again from the limited view that you'll always have inside of CRM, because buyers want to keep their information to themselves. They want to delay contact as long as they can, and instead giving you that early view so your reps can be proactive and get your message out there in a competitive way early in the deal. So yeah, I'll hand things off to Eyal from there.
All right, thanks. So nice to meet everybody, or not meet everybody here, but we got them able to be here today. What I'd like to tell you about is what DealHub is and how actually DealHub comes together, and just what is DealHub. DealHub is actually a couple of different capabilities within one solution. Our main core capability is what's referred to as CPQ, configure, price, quote. That means the ability to go and generate a proposal and be able to send that out to a customer. What that also incorporates is the ability to do some contract management, put the right contract terms around that. And we're going to talk as well about the ability to go share content, as we talked about earlier, and how to go and really track and understand what's being looked at. Just one sort of promotional slide, tell you where we are, who we are in the industry today. For the last 4 years, DealHub has been the #1 CPQ in the industry. So we've got a lot of experience, a lot of organizations that look towards us. And also, if you look at G2.com, which does a lot of reviews of solutions that are out there, they've also put us for the last 2 years now on their top 50 products for sales. So it's a list that comes out every year, and of all the tools that their salespeople are using, and we've actually come out on that for the last couple of years. So very well positioned as you work through this. We have a lot of experience. I want to tell you a little bit about that as we move to the next slide. Now, what is very unique about DealHub is when we put things together, we didn't just want another tool that we throw at the salespeople and say how to use it. We really wanted to look at who are the different people in the organization, or the different groups within the organization that are using the CPQ or responsible for it, and make sure that we're addressing everybody's concerns. So who's involved here is the operations people putting things together and maintaining it and dealing with us salespeople that like to complain a lot. We actually have us salespeople, we need to use some solutions, and we also have our end customer and how do we go and engage with them. So from an operations point of view, what DealHub has gone and done is made a solution that is configurable. Why did we do that? Well, we didn't want a solution that you have to come in and spend months to go and code out. We wanted something that operations people could set up very easily and quickly. Well, in fact, DealHub comes in and helps you with that initial implementation, so we can give best practices and get you up and running quick. And when I talk about quick, we're typically talking 4, 6, 8 weeks to get a solution up and running. So we're going to get it up and running very quickly, but give the operations people the ability to go and make changes quickly. The reason we need that is products, pricing, processes are continuously changing, and operations people need the ability to respond to that in as real time or as close to real time as we can, and that's where that configured environment comes in. From a salesperson's point of view, what we've done is a very different kind of view, is rather than try to, again, change the way salespeople are working, is we actually talk to the salespeople and say, how do you work today? And we model that into a very unique process that we have in our CPQ process that we refer to as a playbook, where a salesperson has walked through a process that is very familiar to them based off of who they are, where they're selling to, what product lines they're selling. We're going to have that process change. That playbook is going to adapt itself based off of what the salesperson is doing. So all the salesperson really knows how to do, or needs to know how to do, is answer the questions they typically would answer when they run a discovery with their customer. That's what's mapped into DealHub, and that will then automate all the rest of the processes to build out the right content and the right proposal that we need for our customer. From the end customer experience, this is where it gets really exciting, is that an organization can now sell like a modern organization. So of course we can generate a Word or a PDF document. We've been doing that for years, and it does a great job, and obviously we need that for signing off on contracts. but what about sharing content in a much more engaging manner? Something we refer to as a deal room. We're going to see some examples a little bit later as well. The ability to share content in a very engaging manner. What's really important by bringing all three of these key players together, we have a lot of collaboration between our salespeople, operations, our end customer. We have transparency along the way between what we're doing within the organization and how we're engaging with the customer. And we also provide a lot of agility for the organization as well. As I said, things are continuously changing. We need to have an agile environment, and that's what DealHub allows us to do. So what are some of the value points that you get out of a CPQ? Well, CPQ is looking at a number of different areas. One is operational efficiency. How do we get things a lot more efficient between the salespeople, getting things out to the customer, as Christian mentioned earlier in the process as well, getting things out to customers very quickly. We're obviously looking at revenue growth as well. CPQ is very important for how do we configure the right solutions, how do we put the right solutions together so that we don't make mistakes. Obviously, compliance and control. Salespeople, it's great. We love to provide any discounts that we can, but we're not always allowed to do that. It's just not possible. Organizations can't allow that. So we can put some controls around it. We're not there to limit the salesperson, but we do want to understand what's happening over there. And as I mentioned as well, we want that great experience for our customers, which is really key, not just the time of getting back to them, but providing that really key experience. Now you can see some of the value points as well in numbers off to the left over here. So really, these are things that customers have told us. They've improved the accuracy of their quotes 100%. Simply, you eliminate mistakes that way. The reduction in sales rep training, that playbook process that I talked about, salespeople walk through a process very familiar to them. We don't have to teach them how products go together. They simply answer questions, and DealHub's been configured by the organization to go build out the right products. Obviously, increasing the productivity of sales reps. If we can get sales reps, get us out in the field a lot more, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So instead of spending our time building out things internally, we can actually, that means the quotes and the documents and the content that we want to put around that, then we have that ability to increase their productivity. Obviously, onboarding salespeople is really key as well. You can quickly bring them on board because you can take away some of that training and give them a lot of ease in the process of how they go and do a lot of big part of their job, which is putting out those quotes and those contracts. Obviously, here is exactly what Christian talked about, that speed of getting the quotes out there, really speed it up. We have customers that tell us it will take days to do it. All of a sudden, it's down to minutes that they're able to do that. Obviously, decreasing the pain on operations. A lot of times when I talk to operations people, I'll say, how many salespeople do you work? I don't say how many salespeople do you work with, how many complainers do you work with? We're always complaining as salespeople, and this reduces a lot of that day-to-day load that they have because they just don't have to deal with those issues. They can let the salespeople do the work that they have to do. And really key, I think this last one as well, putting things in the hands of the operations people. Now, nothing against IT people, but IT people have lots of other things that they need to do to make sure our systems are up and running. Business people are the ones, the business operations, their day-to-day working with what needs to be done for the salespeople, and we can give them full control to go make those changes very quickly and really keep control of the process. So what are some of the functionality in the system or the different components that we have? Is that guided process that I talked about, the playbooks where we can walk salespeople through the process. Behind the scenes then, we've built the logic that will go automatically configure the right products based on the inputs that we provide, the right pricing. We're selling into different regions. We're doing different combinations of products. They may have different pricing because we're bundling them in different ways. So that will all be done automatically. We can actually build out contracts with DealHub as well. So knowing what products we're selling, again, what territory or vertical market we're selling into, we can either automate the process or give some of that control of the salesperson as well, but actually put some guardrails around that, let them make some changes, but they have a lot of flexibility to go and contribute to that process as well. Obviously, super keys, we talked about the oversight that we need, the approval workflows. So if it's commercial reasons, it's legal reasons, it's technical reasons why salespeople are making changes that we need to go and review those, we can put that all into a very smooth process for automating those workflows. Obviously, the unique process of going and engaging with customers, we're going to see an example of a deal room in just a minute. The contract management, the whole aspect of managing every aspect of the contract, and later on going into amendments if that needs to be, if you're changing contracts. We have a built-in e-signature right in the solution. We have our own e-signature, or we integrate with tools such as DocuSign, so we can go right through the process of building out that quote and signing things off at the end of the process. And of course, everything is synced back into SugarCRM. We're going to talk about that in the next slide in a second. Everything comes from CRM. We're going to go back into SugarCRM at the end of the process. And as I talked about, some of that integration and ramp up is really, really quick as well. So some advantages that you get with DealHub. First of all, like I talked about, very quick implementation. We're generally talking somewhere in that range of 2 to 8 weeks. Obviously, it varies because it depends on the complexity of the organization and the number of capabilities that we need to add into that. It's very easy to maintain. It's a zero-code environment. That's why it's business operations, sales, revenue operations type people that can do it. We don't need any experience in coding. Sales rep adoption is high. It is 100%, or it's almost there, because we've made it so simple for them. They want to use it. They gain the value from it. And that's what's really key of any sales tool you put in there. Give the value to the salespeople, and you're going to get the results from that. The buyer experience, which we're going to take a look at in a second as well, that deal room, how that looks. And what's also, I didn't talk about with the deal room, is we can actually track the engagement of the customer and see some insights on that. So who's looking at the content, sharing it, or where they're looking at, what they're interested in. And I'll talk about that in a moment in the deal room as well, and we'll see that as well. So just one last slide we'll go to before we go to the deal room. So basically when we're in a Sugar environment, so basically fully integrated between SugarCRM and DealHub. So it's a great suite to put together. You've got everything that you're doing in SugarCRM for, managing your opportunities, and then you've got the ability to jump into DealHub and build out your quotes. We can do all that aspect of building out the quotes, all the edits, all the changes can all be done in DealHub, and we're going to sync all that information back into your opportunity back in SugarCRM. So Sugar is going to be their main focus. That's your source of truth. DealHub is going to help do these different capabilities, and then we're going to give you the ability to bring all that information back into the CRM. And I'm going to show my screen over here. And here is an example of how you can see it in front of you. This is a deal room. So what a customer is going to get, they're going to get a link. They're going to open it up. The link is per opportunity. What's really cool about that is that means if we change the deal room throughout the process, meaning the salesperson goes back and wants to send new kinds of information, it's the same link that the customer is going to use. So here we can see a deal room that we branded for Sugar. Clint, which many people probably know over here, we made him a salesperson for the day. He's included a little note here to send out to the customer. And he's decided to include a short little video. Now, when I say he's decided, it might be things that were already set up for him that automatically wanted to include this information, or it might be that he personally selected, he wanted to add certain content that he wanted to include. And that's what's really important about the deal room. The content can be automated, so we're always presenting the right information. We want to present the organization as a very modern organization, present all that detail. So that's going to be presented over here, or the salesperson might have selected. So maybe the different customer testimonials that I want to include, I want to go pick those or have those automatically picked based off of the industry that I'm working with. I might want to include some additional content. The deal room actually lets us bring in some content from other systems. So if you got a CMS system with other content in there, we can bring in some other documents. So ad hoc content can be added in as needed. We've got a Dropbox environment that we call it a deal box, where we can simply go and drop in some other assets as well if we want, or the customer may even want to drop in some things for the salesperson to take a look at. Here's our quote that we've gone and generated, and if we have several different options, we could have presented different options to the customer and let them choose which option they'd like to move forward with. So that's another capability that we have. Of course, terms and conditions we want to present. Just as a note, there is a PDF document in the background, so the customer has the ability to have that content, but this is the way we can go and present that content in a very engaging way. We have online forms where we can ask the customer to fill in some information. If you're selling hardware, it might be shipping information. If you're in a software environment or other industries where you just want to get the billing information, then simply add that information. These details can sync back into Sugar, so you're going to capture that information right in the CRM, or it can pass right onto the document, like I mentioned, is in the background over here. And then we've got the ability to sign it off electronically. And I said we have the ability to sign off things electronically, either through our own e-signature or through DocuSign. And just one last thing I want to point out here is, as a salesperson, I can go and track the engagement of my customers. So I can see all the different opportunities that I'm working on, and I can see people that have come in and all the different things that they've looked at. I can dive into each one of these opportunities and see who's looked at the deal room, who's filled out a form, who's shared it with other people in different aspects that they've taken. I really get a lot of insight as to what's happening with people that are engaging with my deal room, and that information is all available for the salesperson to see at any time.
And while we're waiting for that, I just wanted to say the same thing like Triblio, excited about DealHub and giving the seller that insight that somebody's actually engaging with your proposal, with your quote. That's really, really unique. It's really, really valuable. It's so frustrating when you've delivered a quote to a customer and you just don't know what's going on, right? You desperately want to know, are they actually looking at the quote? Are they looking at the supporting material? Are they sharing it with others in their organization? Because sometimes you suspect maybe I'm just being used as a price negotiating tool, right? Are they really, really interested in this? Is this an active project, or did they buffalo me with this whole opportunity? But if you see them engaged and you see them looking and comparing at things, you get a lot of confidence from that process.
Yeah, it's definitely, as we just comment on that, as we moved into the digital world, we're not always seeing each other obviously face to face into the go-to type worlds or the Zoom worlds and things of that sort. So the ability to really understand what the customer is doing, very similar feel to what we've done for a long time in the marketing world, where we try to understand what's happening, what customers are engaging with. Now we can understand that as part of the sales process and really understand what people are interested in and what they're looking at.
So let's quickly summarize So just really what have we tried to show you? SugarCRM does a great job with account management and opportunity management and tracking so much detail about your customers and the deals that you're working with. What Triblio does on account management, it helps you surface new accounts where you just never had a chance to see them before. They never came to your website. You have a chance of finding out who's researching your product line and doing outreach to those customers proactively. And then same thing for accounts. DealHub expands the insights into who's in the buying process by sharing out those deal rooms and seeing who's opening up your proposal and who's looking at your videos and collateral. You gain insight into the buying process that you never had before. Inside of the opportunity management cycle as well, it also, on Triblio's side, it does show you it's beyond a single buyer, like Andrew said. There's many people in the organization that initiates searches, that's involved in the buying process, that might not engage directly with your salespeople, but that your salespeople would benefit greatly from knowing about, and it's surfaced in Triblio that they're out there. Then just having a really clean process of getting the quote out and taking it all the way to the signature. DealHub does such an amazing job there, and I think it's in every sales organization's key metrics to reduce the sales cycle. How many days does it take to close a deal? And the tools being delivered here is material in reducing those number of days. So a lot of value here, fully integrated in Sugar. There are add-on products that you add to the Sugar system, but they're so valuable, we just want to make sure you know about them.
And at this point, as Christian had mentioned, let's open this up to Q&A. As Christian had said, if you do have any questions, you can just add into the little chat box, and we'll go through and start asking some of the questions. So the first one I have, and I'm going to just moderate these, and then whoever is the best person to answer, please jump in. How long does DealHub take to deploy?
Now, DealHub is very quick to deploy. I think I mentioned that in one of the slides. Let me go through that again. It'll go anywhere from about 2 to 8 weeks. It's really going to depend on the size of the organization, the complexity that you have. Just how that works is we come in and we run a workshop with the customer, and sometimes there'll be one session or several sessions. We really need to understand the business. We want to understand it so we can really provide a lot of value over there. Learn how the sales organization works, learn how the operations team works, and then we get right into doing things. Usually within days, we're already starting to show results, so we can start to see things working, and that's why we can get that rapid implementation done.
Great.
And I can add to that too, is one of the reasons we chose to work with DealHub from the SugarCRM side is, our customers, typically mid-market customers, and there's pretty relentless pressure on getting fast return on investment on CRM solutions. So having something, the CPQ has traditionally been something that's fairly complicated to roll out, taking a long time, getting the price books together, and we found that DealHub uniquely could get that compressed into a really fast delivery time and deliver that fast return on investment and deployment time that our customers are expecting from us.
Okay, so next one is not a question, but I think a comment worth sharing. Somebody said, really great presentation, folks, exciting products, and a lot of food for thought. So I think that reflects all the demos that we got today, so thank you. The next question is, who maintains the integration for DealHub?
I'll take that one. So as part of this relationship, SugarCRM has taken on that responsibility. So we created the integration using APIs that DealHub provides to us. We connected to that and we maintain that integration. We created it and we're committed to maintaining it over time and through the years. And like many know, the cost of software development isn't the initial creation, it's the ongoing maintenance of it. And that's what SugarCRM is committed to do with DealHub, but we're taking that responsibility. So when you're buying this, you're buying us maintaining that integration.
So I think this next question is also about DealHub, since we're talking about this right now. Somebody wanted to know, is it charged per user, or how does the pricing model work?
DealHub is a subscription model, so it's per user. Typically, a user is going to be either a salesperson, it's going to be an approver, or it's going to be an administrative person. So that's definitely what it's going to be charged by per user. When we look at the deal room, the one thing that we mentioned there, we showed that There's no charge for that on the number of users. So you're sending that out to your customers, whether you have one person viewing it or whether you have a dozen people within your customer viewing it. There's no license for that. That's all included. So that's what's really great is when you're sending it out, all the different stakeholders in your customer, no additional licensing for that. That's all part of DealHub.
Got it. And one other question on DealHub. Is there a need for a company to have their own DocuSign account alongside DealHub?
If they want to run DocuSign e-signature, then they would have it. It's a slightly different license than normally. You don't need a per user license. Typically, a lot of organizations will have a per user license for their DocuSign users. Here you'll have basically one organization license, and then the number of envelopes that you need, you simply will increase those as you use those up. If you want to use our own our own like DealHub's e-signature, that's native, it's built in, that's included with the solution. So, and we can work with both as well. If there's reasons why you might want to use one or the other at different times, we can work together with that.
Got it. And Christian, can you speak a little bit about Triblio and DealHub and if they work with Sugar Enterprise as well, or is this just SugarCell?
No, it works with Enterprise too. So Enterprise is our offering that can be deployed in your own data center. So all the plugins that work can also be connected to the Enterprise customer.
Perfect. For Triblio, I have a question. Does Triblio specialize in any industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't say we specialize in industry. There are definitely ones where we're going to have more signal coverage because of the nature of the industry is they put off a lot more signal as they're doing research. The things that I would be more asking as an organization of like, could this help my team, have to do with things like team configuration. So how big a part of our pipeline generation is that outbound component? So if you're in an industry, maybe we're serving like very small customers where it is mostly an inbound motion, then there might be less of a lift you get from it. But if there is a heavy part of your sales team's, pipeline generation that needs to be from them self-sourcing, prospecting, working a territory, discovering new accounts, then there's potential that it's a really, really large productivity and pipeline generation lift. Another thing that's a really good signal or a good indicator if there's a good fit is just, are they, do you have a strategic importance on, and most people do, but those, larger buying teams, larger deals, do you need more insights into those accounts where you might know, and be talking to one person in a really large company, but there's, 10 or 15 other people who might be influencing that deal, but not talking to you yet. And you want to see more, what's the overall signal in the account? That typically is a really good fit as well. In terms of just the data reach in each industry, though, what I would encourage everyone to do if you have interest in it is just to talk to your Sugar rep and actually arrange to look at the data that we have for your industry. That doesn't cost anything, so we can arrange that through a preview process where you'll actually get a cut of like the last week's worth of, okay, in the market you told us you care about, the types of companies, the competitors you have, the types of intent signals that companies would be having. What does that data look like? And you'll be able to see that before you kind of go further down the process with us. So you'll get, a peek into that and encourage anyone who, again, has that heavy, outbound, self-sourcing component in their pipeline generation plan to look at the data and see if there's a good fit there.
And clearly, the cool thing is that it's not just limited to software or tech. There's manufacturing data, there's food service data, there's all kinds of industries in there. But like Andrew said, speak to your rep, give us some challenging questions. This is my industry, these are my target intents, and see what kind of data we have. We'd love to show you.
Great. And I'm going to just close out with one last comment. Somebody said, no question. I just wanted to say thank you for a great presentation. So I think with that, we tell everyone, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eyal. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.